Okay, I call my process an 8-step cleaning process, but it's not unusual for other companies to call it a 12-step process or something of that nature in their advertising material. Now here's a sofa which we picked up, which actually was brought to our shop because of a client who had some moving going on. When they moved, there's some grease on it and some different issues that are going on. It's a microfiber. And notice right here, I call this step 1. It all kind of goes together, but you can break it up for advertising purposes. It's inspection. Of course, I'm going to be looking at it first. I'm going to take pictures. I'm going to ID it. Of course, I know this is a microfiber here. And then I'm going to document it by taking the pictures. Notice the grease there in the front. You know, I can use all this to go ahead and set the client's expectations, because you can't make it look like brand new. You know, you're not Helen Keller or Jerry Falwell. You're not going to do a miracle, but you're going to make it look the absolute best it possibly can look with your training and with your knowledge. But you want to take care to make sure that you document any types of issues, cleaning codes like the tag I'm about to find right here. There's nothing wrong with taking pictures. Pictures say 1,000 words. Remember I said earlier in the video to document, to cover yourself, and also to avoid that hyper-awareness syndrome that clients come up with. All right, step 2 is pre-vac. Pre-vacuuming, just like on carpet, on upholstery, it's just as important. You want to get those heavily soiled areas, especially where people sit, their arms, and the back cushions. Here, I just go ahead and hook up a vacuum-driven brush little system to go ahead and get the main areas. And then I'll just go ahead and put a little regular brush on there and vacuum everything else. But that brush enables me to get down there and get the sand and the grit and all different types of things that might be inside the furniture. It also helps break free a lot of hair. And we all know that pet hair really likes to stick to upholstery. It's a tough task to get it off. You can hook it up to your truck mount, or you can hook it up to your furniture machine if you have something strong enough to do it with. Also like to take a crevice tool or an edge tool and get right down into the edges really good. This really makes a big impact on clients, because let me tell you what, most carpet cleaners do not pre-vac carpets or upholstery. So this is really going to set you apart. I like to take a little brush and get down into the little edges and the crevices and pull everything out. This one here has a lot of hair on the base. So I'm taking this little brush here, which breaks the hair up, pulls it all together. And I can take my time and really vacuum that hair out of there. It makes a big difference, because even though it looks good and smells good, if it's got a lot of hair on it, the client's not going to be very happy with it. So definitely you want to make sure you set the expectations. You want to go that extra mile and get out as much dry soil, as much hair, and as much content ahead of time, so you're not fighting with that and you're not turning it into mud. You're there to really, do the best job possible. And I definitely find this base area right here, or the deck is what a lot of manufacturers call it, that's going to be the worst area of all. So make sure when you're working with the deck to get it as clean as possible. Notice how this little brush works? It'll suck stuff right up in there, even bigger items. You might need a dry down if you're using your truck mount, so remember that. Okay, pre-spotting. Pre-spotting is just as important as every other step, because what you're actually doing is you're breaking up things ahead of time. You're giving it the dwell. Remember the tact. So you want to make sure that you're giving it plenty of dwell time. You need that time to allow it to break up. Here in the face of this unit here, there's some grease where it was in transport. Some grease had gotten on the front of the microfiber sofa. And it's up to you if you want to charge extra for this. And this is a little, extra work here, or you can include it. It's totally up to you. Now this sofa here, it was brought to me, so I didn't really discuss the pricing earlier, but generally on a section we're around $225 to even $400, depending on how many cushions there are, how soiled it is, and whether there's conditions like this right here. Now I like to take a towel and put it in front of my tamping brush, and I'll gently tamp it, and that'll work it in. You don't want to overdo it, because you're not trying to drive anything into the backing, and you're not trying to hurt the piece. And then I'll blot it. So by blotting it, I'm getting all the excess out of there before I have to come up there and start rinsing it. This will make it real easy to come out later on. Of course, always set the expectations. Let clients know that sometimes a stain can permanently impregnate the fiber and change the color permanently, but you'll make it look the best it absolutely can. If you've got good professional products, 99% of the time you're going to make a piece of furniture really look good. All right, so I'm taking my time. Remember, I'm not rubbing, I'm just blotting. Don't ever rub the material, because you're going to end up distorting it and do some damage to it. All right, now we're moving on to pre-spray. Now, like I mentioned inside of the video earlier when I was in the classroom, the pre-spray that you choose, I use a heavy-duty neutral pre-spray, and this covers just about every different type of upholstery material out there, whether it's blends, whether it's naturals, synthetics, you name it, it covers it all. Now I like to really pay special attention to the back and the arms and stuff like that. Here in the deck area, I'm just going to put a very light coat, very light coat. Now, no matter what type of sprayer you use, you're not going to get 100% even distribution. And notice I've got a drop cloth down there to catch things too, because you're going to get some overspray. So I'll show you what I'll do here in a couple of minutes to make that a difference. But wherever it's more soiled, I'm going to put some extra. Now notice I've taken all the cushions off and I moved the cushions out of the way. And when you're pre-spraying, make sure you're not overspraying on the people's walls, you're not spraying onto their furniture. Generally people will have little end tables. Move everything away from the sofas as well as possible, and use drop cloths, especially when you're working over hardwoods or different surfaces like that. And if you're not cleaning the carpets, you want to make sure that you still use a drop cloth. Okay, so notice I'm paying special attention to those areas that are really soiled. Arms are almost always the worst. Now on the very back of the sofa, you really don't need to put much, just a very light coat. Now notice, like I said, most sprayers do not spray evenly. So how are we going to make up for this? Well, I'll show you that now. Okay, so how do we go about getting even distribution? We agitate. This enables to move the product around all across the upholstered material and give you a good even distribution. This is really important because you want to get every aspect of the piece of upholstery. And your choice of tool makes a big difference too. I'm a big believer in a horsehair brush. It doesn't damage the fibers, or the fabric. You don't have to worry about that. So I just gently rub back and forth, softly working the product in. And I'll do it every single bit of the piece. I'll pay special extra attention to where people put their hands and their arms and the seat cushions, and of course the back, because the back of your head and neck and hair will have a lot of oils. Of course we'll be doing that with the cushions later on, and I'll show you that. But really get those arms really well. Pre-agitated. What that's doing is it's making the body oils separate or suspend with the product that you're using. That's what a pre-spray basically does. Now here's a cool little trick we like to do. We'll take a clean white terry cloth non-marking towel and we'll just kind of shimmy back and forth like this. And what this does is it brings up a lot of those oils on the arms. That's the hardest place to get the oils out, and you can see it right here on the towel. It makes a huge difference. Now it's time to rinse and extract. Okay, and notice most of that grease stain that was in the front is totally gone. I left a little piece so you can see it, so I'll take my time. And you notice I'm just gently going across over this and I'm rinsing it really well with this tool here. It really does a great job, and it keeps the heat up to a good temperature. And I'll also work different directions if I need to on spots. I really like to take the time and go through the whole piece and get the spots first, and then I'll clean the overall thing. Now notice here I'm going to clean the deck, I'm going to clean the whole body first. That way I can clean each cushion, set the cushion back up on the furniture. Enables me to do it. So notice I'm going back and forth. There's nothing wrong with really going over it thoroughly, especially when you're using something like this. You want to clean it and you want to dry it really well. Now here we are on the arms. Remember I mentioned before? And notice how the arms are puckering like that? I'm not a fan of that. So there's some things you can do to keep that from puckering. And you can move the puckering out by changing direction, but try to figure out which direction works the best to avoid the puckering. So notice now I'm going sideways. That enables me, and notice how I'm gripping a hold of the upholstery. That keeps the puckering from happening, because if it sets that way, it's going to be stuck in there. It's kind of like when you wash your hair, it's going to be stuck in that position, and it doesn't look attractive to the client afterwards. Of course, you're going to groom, and we'll get to that later, but still, why create more work for yourself? So I'll work my way up, I'll go ahead and grab a hold of it. I'm going to find the best way to go, and notice again, it looks like sideways is going to be the best angle on this. But I still like to clean both directions. I'll hold on to the base of it and really get it well. All right, now we come to the cushions. Now notice how it just rocks back and forth, because the upholstery tool wants to grab a hold of it with vacuum. So I'll grip it real tightly, and I'll do at least 75–80% of one side of it. And I like to overlap my strokes. I think that's really important. It's going to look clean after just one stroke, but take the time and overlap your strokes, and you'll notice it'll come a whole lot cleaner. And what I've noticed also is, the cleaner something is, the faster it dries. So notice how I'm overlapping my strokes. I'm taking my time and I'm looking for water rings like that in spots, and I'll take my time and hit it over and over again until it's completely gone. And you want to work your way all the way around the piece of upholstery. Then you can just flip it over and do the other side of the cushion, that remaining 25%. Work your way all the way around it. Leave nothing untouched. You want to hit every piece of every angle of the pillows, and sometimes they're the hardest. I believe there was like 10 or 12 pillows on this thing. You want to make sure that you charge accordingly too. So factor that in there because pillows take time. The whole unit takes time. So make sure that you charge enough to make a profit. Here's a little lip here. I'll fold this down and I'll get inside this crease. If you don't, it'll leave dust and dirt in there and align when it dries. It's very important to get the whole product or the whole piece evenly cleaned. If you don't, you could end up with water rings. And notice this little corner that's left here hasn't been hit. And notice in my left hand, I'm gripping it very tightly and I'm holding it steady. That way the piece isn't moving on me. Because it's really tough to get down inside these little angles and these nooks and crannies. You want to take your time and go over it and make sure you get every bit of it. Because when it dries, any areas that you miss are going to show up and it's going to look uneven and the client's probably not going to call you back. She's looking to you to be the professional and do a top-class job. So take your time. Upholstery is a little bit of a pain. It is a type of a detail work that takes time, energy, and effort. That's why you want to charge accordingly. You want to do it correctly, and you'll find that your repeats and your reviews and all that and will go up for yourself. And so all along with your profit levels too. Okay, now on the cushions, notice I'm overlapping real nicely and I'm kind of applying a little bit of pressure also. Not too much, but just a little bit because these are some of the dirtiest areas on the upholstery. So I'm really overlapping these strokes nicely in these spots. I'll sit here and I'll take my time and I'll go back and forth on, but if it puckers, I'll still go back over it and even it out. If you did your proper pre-spotting and you did your proper agitation and your pre-spraying, for the most part, every spot will come out when you're cleaning like this. And the piece will really look good. I also like to take the time, and if I can see a big difference, I'll walk and get the client and bring her back and show her that magic square or that different looking because it makes a huge impact on the clients. Okay, now it's time to groom it. We're all done cleaning, so you want to take the time and really make the piece look nice. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your brush and go back and forth and make sure you get all your wand marks out. All the different strokes. Take the time, make it look as attractive as possible. It is wet and it will dry uneven as it's doing right now, but in an hour or two, this piece will be dry and it'll look really nice. Of course, you want to speed up the drying, so how do you do that? Go ahead and set an air mover. I like to take a chair, of course, make sure the bottom of your air mover is very clean. Last thing you want to do is set something up and you have an issue with it. Leaving some spots and you'll be cleaning some more upholstery. Or put a terry cloth towel under it if you want to.